Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you for coming out to this meeting this evening. We're calling this the Caladium Hawthorne Sewer Upsizing Project. My name is David Hayes. I am Director of Watershed Management. And again, welcome. And I hope that you get a great deal out of this. Our intent is to inform you of what we're doing, when we're doing it, and what we're going to be doing, what to expect throughout this event. Um, this project is taking place within District 1 and District 7. I'm sorry, is that District? Commissioner Patrick and Dr. Bolton. Um, they have been very supportive with us and to bring this project to and to get it on off and going. This evening, you're going to hear from a group of panelists. These are all watershed experts within our department. They're going to tell you what's going on in our system and how we've assessed the problem. They're going to tell you what we're going to do to resolve the problem. And then we're going to start breaking down the scope of work on what you should expect throughout the project. And then we're going to round it off with the public communications plan that we have put in place to allow you to understand how we're going to communicate to you going forward. And then we'll allow an opportunity for you to ask any questions that you may not get answered through the presentation. Next slide, please. And again, as I mentioned earlier, my name is David Hayes. I am Director of Watershed Management. I am a licensed water professional for more than 30 years. And we've put together a great team of people to bring to you this project. And we hope to have this project very successful and on time. Next slide, please. A little background history of DeKalb County. Watershed Management, we're serving nearly 800,000 customers or ratepayers in the county. We do that by taking in water from the Chattahoochee River, and we can treat as much as 128 million gallons of water from the Chattahoochee River per day to make it into drinking water. Our current demand in DeKalb County is just about 70 million gallons of drinking water that we send out to the homes and businesses each day. Once that water is used, it's then collected and sent back to DeKalb so that we can treat the wastewater. And we treat that wastewater at two of our wastewater plants in DeKalb County. That's Pole Bridge and Snapfinger. And then we also utilize and we partner with the city of Atlanta and send a portion of that water to the RM Clayton plant in the northern side of DeKalb. In DeKalb, we have the ability to treat as much as 56 million gallons of wastewater per day that's received from you. Conveying that water to you and conveying that wastewater back to DeKalb for treatment, that piping system is comprised of just over 6,000 linear miles of pipe. And to put that in perspective, as we say in DeKalb, if we were to stretch that pipe from end to end, that pipe distance would travel from DeKalb County all the way to California and back to DeKalb County. So very, very large piping system that we are responsible for that has aged and is causing a great deal of issues and concerns to the community. Hence, we're here to improve this collection system. Next slide, please. So what are we talking about here? What you see here, DeKalb has a gravity system, and we call that a gravity main. The gravity main conveys sewer from your communities back to our wastewater plants. Your homes and your businesses, they connect to those gravity mains, and they connect using a lateral, what we call a lateral, and that's nothing more than a small pipe leaving your house and tying into our sewer system in DeKalb County. Well, what's happening here is these laterals and these sewer mains, they age, and as they age, they crack, they develop imperfections. Over time, there's a lot of construction going on, so large equipment or shovels may damage the pipe, allow roots to get up in there and block the pipes or to continue to break the pipe. And then there are a great deal of illicit connections to our pipes, meaning somebody may connect their um, gutter system to our to their lateral, and then that lateral again goes to our gravity main. Well, this collection system is only designed to maintain sewage water and not stormwater. Stormwater takes up capacity, it fills the pipe, and we don't want the pipes filled. So these projects are addressing those issues with our sewer main. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, what we're going to try to accomplish, what we are going to accomplish here, we're going to upsize or upgrade the system. And we're upgrading the system to allow DeKalb to continue to grow, to continue to develop, and to be able to take care of that, again, more than 760, almost 800,000 ratepayers and customers throughout the day. And we're doing that by improving the sewer system. In this case, we're going to upsize the sewer system in this area, which will allow us to improve customer service to get that wastewater back to where it needs to go, and that's to the wastewater treatment facilities, and to keep it out of the communities to prevent SSOs or sewer overflows. And again, that will make DeKalb a better place. Next slide, please. So we've put together an A team to manage this project, to see this project through. The watershed engineering division have helped design this project, along with the assistance or the aid of AECOM and Jacobs. Those are two consultant engineering firms that work with us. And then we're going to have Kimmy Construction actually doing the work for us out there. And they're going to be managed, or the oversight to make sure that things are placed in the ground properly and at proper elevations. Gresham Smith and CERM in Arcadis, they partnered with us to make sure that we have the pipe in the places where it needs to go. And again, the slope of the pipes and everything is what it needs to be to allow the sewage to gravity flow where it needs to get to. And that's to the wastewater plant and away from your homes and residents. So we are very pleased and confident in this team, and we know that this project should go on time, on schedule, and on budget, barring weather events and any other unforeseens that we may expose as we're down in the ground. Next slide, please. Next, you're going to hear from the managing engineering manager from the watershed, Miss Aaliyah Johnson. She is the manager that has been assigned to help see this project develop, design, engineer, and she's managing the firms who are helping us to bring this project to you. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you, Director Hayes, and good afternoon. My name is Aaliyah Johnson, and I'm an engineering manager. I'm a licensed professional engineer with over 20 years of experience in water and wastewater engineering. So as Director Hayes mentioned, that my team helped overseeing the design aspect of this project, and we work with the design consulting firm Arcadis to help develop the scope of this project. So what I'm going to talk about today is, we're going to talk about the assessment and also problems. So why do we need to do the assessment? So before we start looking into which area or which community that we need to look into, what are the issues that is out there? We need to perform all the different type of assessments. So what you see on this slide is showing technologies that we use to assess and analyze the whole community and the system as a whole, just to see if we have an issue, either to fix it for the short-term and long-term solutions. So starting with the smoke testing, this is the most easy and the cost-effective. So basically what we would see is the picture on the right. We put the smoke inside the manhole in the sewer system just to help identify, so the smoke will go to the least resistance route. So wherever there is the defect in your private lateral, it will show the smoke will come out from the ground. So that will help us identify if there is any defects. And the next one is called closed circuit TV or CCTV. So we did do the CCTV just a little bit upstream of this community, and we have identified over 35 pipes and also closer to 9,000 linear feet of the pipe that we did identify that could have some potential issues. It has some structural defects such as cracks or fractures or holes, and some of those have already been completed by doing the rehabilitation. But what you will hear more in this presentation is we are going to talk about the need that we need to increase the capacity of the pipe in this area, since we have identified that it is lacking the capacity. And next, some of the low hanging fruit is some structural condition assessment and inspection. This is something that we can do with the visual observation, such as if there's a clean out cap in your yard, if it's broken or if it's missing, we could just go and replace that. And also the manhole, the vented manhole, that could allow for any inflow or the infiltration to come into our sewer system. Acoustic testing, just using the sound waves just to identify if there's any blockage in the system. And lastly, which is pretty much the cause of this area, is from the hydraulic modeling. So basically this is what we use. We put the flow meters in the manhole and we measure the flow to understand what the current flow, and whenever it rains, so we will understand if the pipe can handle the current flow, and also we need to decide it to plan for any future development and the growth. Next slide, please. So with us doing all the assessment, I just want to make sure that this area has fully been assessed to help identify the most cost-effective way to fix this issue. So what is the problem for this area? So after we did all the series of the assessment that I mentioned earlier, the first one is the edges infrastructure. So the pipe that is in the system is over 70 years old. So with the age of that, some of the pipe had deteriorated over time. So it is outside of our mind. So pretty much we want to make sure that we fix and target the problem before anything bad can happen. So we just want to go ahead and improve that area. And next, the lack of capacity. Like I mentioned earlier in my previous slide, that when we do measure the flow, we have identified that as a result of that, the system as of right now can handle the current flow, but in a certain storm event, let's say we use a 2-year storm, meaning whenever it's raining, it could be that the pipe could fill up to the top of the manholes and it could overflow or come out from the manhole. And that could cause the sewer to spill outside the system. So we want to increase the size at this time, also to handle any future growth in this area. Operational efficiency. So as I mentioned, this pipe may not be installed correctly at the beginning. In some areas, you could find that there is some reverse slope in the area, and also the structural defects such as the cracks, fractures, broken, or any holes in the pipes. So we just want to fix that issues as well as any blockage, such as when you flush things in the toilet, it go inside the sewer and it could cause any blockage in the system. And lastly, sanitary sewer overflow or the SSO. This area did experience a repeated SSO. The last event of the SSO in the area was back in April of 2022. So we just want to go ahead and upgrade the system at this time to prevent any future SSOs in the area. Next slide, please. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Cassandra Marshall to discuss the solution of all the issues that we have identified in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaliyah. Good evening. My name is Cassandra Marshall. I am the Assistant Director of the CI program for watershed management. I have over 20 years of experience in construction and project management. I am also a licensed water professional, a certified project manager, and a certified construction manager. So you just heard from Aaliyah speak about the problem. I will now speak about the solution. So what is a capital improvement project or CIP? It is a project that helps maintain or improve an asset. It can either be new construction, an expansion, renovation, or replacement of an existing infrastructure. In 2021, the Board of Commissioners approved a new CIP program for $2.4 billion for projects to be completed from 2021 to 2030. The Caladium Hawthorne Sewer Upsizing Project is a $3.9 million project that is included within that plan. My team, the CIP team, is responsible for getting the work done. My team includes 4 DWM construction managers and 12 DWM licensed inspectors. Along with in-house staff, we are also supported by multiple consulting firms. So what do we want you to know? While the construction is occurring, there are going to be inconveniences. However, we're here to help. We want to reduce or eliminate emergency repairs. We want to stop the spills. We want to protect the environment. And finally, after the project is completed, it will improve sustainability to the system. These improvements should last a minimum of 70+ years. Next slide. You will now hear from Keon Banyasad. He will speak about the project scope.
Good evening. My name is Keon Banyasad. I'm the design project manager for this project. Next slide, please. Since November 2016, we began the assessment work and have completed it. We have hired Arcadis to design the upgrade work for this project, which they have completed and acquired all the necessary permits for this project. Now, in 2025, we are gearing up to begin construction, which is planned to complete by October 2025. Next slide, please. In general, this map shows you the extent of this project and the properties that would be affected. The planned work includes upsizing approximately 2,860 linear feet of pipes with 12-inch ductile iron pipes, replace or rehab 18 manholes. Most of the installation will be performed by pipe bursting, and only about 450 linear feet of the construction would be done by using conventional open cut excavation methods. During the construction, continuity of the sewage flow will be maintained using bypass systems that would divert the sewage flow from an upstream manhole to a downstream manhole from where the construction phase is, so that we can have active sewer operation. Next slide, please. At this point, I give the podium to Ms. Cassandra Marshall to talk about the construction phase. Thank you.
So as I stated earlier, my team and I are responsible for the construction activities. We're the boots on the ground. The first thing you're going to see, I think a lot of you have already seen surveyors coming out doing staking of the right-of-way and the limits of disturbance. Next, We will start mobilizing early this week and probably some of next week. They will build construction exit and entrances to get in and out of the site. While we're doing that, we will put up erosion control and sediment control in place. And the team is mainly responsible just for ensuring the pipe is properly being installed. The team is also responsible for safety measures, making sure the contractor is compliant with our contracts. Next slide. So there's two means of construction. First is the open cut. That is this traditional opening up the ground. The contractor will put in a trench box, remove the old pipe, put in the new pipe. This is most economical construction method for the county to receive the desired results for gravity sewer. The second method, which is going to be done for most of the piping, would be pipe bursting. It is a trenchless method of construction by which the existing pipe is opened and forced outward by a pipe bursting tool as they drag, I think it's going to be HDPE pipe through the existing pipe, making a new pipe with the HDPE pipe. Next slide. The duration of the project will be approximately 10 months. We're having a community meeting today. Mobilization is kind of already started. Again, the surveyors has been out. We're going to have people in and out of the site starting the planning. On next week, Monday, the contractor will be on site building an access road, and they will start clearing activities. From there, within the next couple of weeks, we will start pipe installation. And finally, we'll do restoration around August, and final completion will be done in October. And this is all dependent upon weather and site conditions. Next slide. So this is just a before and after photo. The before photo is what it's going to look like when they come and build the construction entrance and exit. They will grade down the yard, put down stone for the contractor to move his equipment over. And this is a means so that we're not necessarily tracking mud on the street. And over to the right-hand side is just a final photo of what it would look like once we're done. We're planning on putting back sod and restoring your property to better conditions than it were before we got there. Next slide. So community awareness. What to expect? Well, there are going to be inconveniences. However, the short-term interruption provide long-term results. Once we upside the pipe in this area, these improvements should last a minimum of 70+ years. But in the meantime, what you're going to see is a lot of construction traffic, foot and vehicles. There will be construction workers, surveyors, county employees throughout your day, probably from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. What also come with this is the parking for the crew workers. They will be parked alongside the streets in your neighborhoods and sometime along the work zone. There will be material and equipment deliveries by means of large tractor trailers. However, the crews and flaggers will guide these large vehicles in and out of the community. As an FYI, all of the county contractors and county employees will have an identification badge. There's going to be lots of noise. The equipment has backup alarms. The alarms have to be loud enough for the people in the work zone to hear. This is a safety mechanism for the crew. Bypass pump and discharge hose will be running through the work zone. There's going to be silt that sometime may be tracked on the street. And as I stated earlier, we're going to build construction entrances and exit prior to starting activity. That should reduce a lot of the silt and mud on the street. However, if mud is tracked on the street, the contractor will be responsible for keeping the streets clean and swept daily. Work hours, our typical work hours will vary just based on the location of where the crews are working. Our typical work hours are from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., sometime weekends and holidays. However, in high impact residential areas, we will only work from 8 to 5. And lastly, there will be a clear delineation of the work zone. This is usually done by just installing silt fence along the temporary or permanent easement and along the ingress egress of the areas. Next slide. So some community awareness item you need to notice are below. The sign on the bottom left of the screen is an example of the sign we require our contractors to install prior to starting work in the area. These signs are to be placed in the view of the line of traffic on every street impacted at a minimum of 72 hours prior to starting any construction. And on the right-hand side is just a generic county contractor sign to be placed on an unmarked company vehicle. Other vehicles will have their company logos. All cars on the county project site must be marked and identifiable as a security measure. Next slide. Resident impact. So the contractor will provide traffic control to guide residents throughout the area. All major deliveries will go down Hawthorne Drive and through the construction entrance, which is between 2589 and 2599 Hawthorne. Also, you all have a community walking path. The walking path will be closed during the duration of the project. This walking path is between 2589, 2599 Hawthorne, and 2660 and 2672 Cravey. Next slide. You will now hear from the Public Relations Manager, Ms. Alicia Penny, about Public Communications Update.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. Good evening, everyone. My name is Alicia Penny, and I'm the Public Relations Manager for the department, and I've served with communications for the department for over 20 years. Next slide, please. Ahead of tonight's meeting, you would have received a letter such as the one shown here to the left, notifying you of the meeting that's taking place tonight. Ahead of any major activities that are going to take place in your neighborhood, you will be receiving a door hanger 48 to 72 hours ahead of any major activities. Also, we want to get your email address from you tonight because tonight I'm just sharing with you how we will communicate with you throughout the project to make sure that is a smooth process and make sure that you're informed of everything that we're doing in your neighborhood. Excuse me. If you could at this time, please place your email addresses into the chat and we can collect those email addresses and we will use that as a way to communicate with you on a regular basis about updates on the project. Next slide, please. Here we have our communication strategy. We have all of the ways, the touch points that we will use to reach out to you to share information about the project. Of course, we have the project hotline. We have the website. There will be a dedicated web page for this project. It will be up and running by the end of this week. And on that page, you'll have maps. You will have any notifications that go out, as well as tonight's presentation will be there. We will also use social media. We use Twitter and Facebook to communicate with residents, as well as news releases for major activities that may be happening in the area. And finally, we will use a county newsletter where we can share information. Other ways is DCTV. Next door is a way that we communicate. Project signs, as Ms. Marshall shared with you earlier, and the contractors. So, and finally, an FAQ that will have critical information, and that will also be on the web page, the dedicated web page for the project. Next slide, please. Here's the ways that you can follow us on social media. We have our platforms here: Nextdoor, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And typically, we also post our presentations, such as our community meeting for tonight. You can find that, you'll be able to find that on our YouTube channel. So if you're not currently following us, I encourage you to do so because we share a lot of great information, not just about our projects, but about water and sewer in general. Next slide, please. Contact information. Who should I contact if something arises? Well, here you have information on how to contact us. First, we have a project information hotline, which is the 1-800 number, and also the email address. And we will get back with you within 24 to 48 hours with the requested information. We also have a contact list here as well for staff members with their email addresses and phone numbers. And finally, if it is after hours and or if it's an emergency and you need to reach us, please use our dispatch emergency line. And that number is listed here as well as the email address. And that is manned. We are open, as you know, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So there's always someone that will answer the phone if you call our dispatch hotline. Next slide, please. And with that, this concludes my part of the presentation. I want to ask if you do have questions. We do have quite a few questions that have already popped into the chat. But if you do have questions, if you will place your questions in the chat, and we will now do a question and answer session. And there are quite a few questions here. And Director Hayes, I will go ahead and start reading some of these questions. Okay, the first question, if in the course of this project, defects are identified in parts of the sewer lines that are on private property, will the county address that, or is it the responsibility of the property owner? If it is DeKalb County that addresses it, to whom is the cost charged? Is that the financial responsibility of the resident or the county? And if the county does it, but the financial responsibility is borne by the resident, does the resident get any say in the timing or the selection or oversight of the contractor?
Great question. Thank you for that. We are working only on the county's sewer system and the county's line. If by chance we do identify or recognize that there is an issue with your lateral, the team will reach out to the homeowner and communicate what we've found. And at that point, it is the responsibility of the homeowner to make the necessary repairs. Yes, the county will not make repairs to your lateral, but we will only make repairs or upgrade the county sewer main itself. And again, we will, though, let you know, inform you of any damage that we see to your lateral. And then you can have that repaired when it's convenient and proper for you. Next question, please.
Okay, next question is, what risk is there of sewage backup into homes during the course of this project?
I'd like for Ms. Marshall or someone from her team to take that question, please.
Sure. On occasion, there are times since the system will be bypassed. We have a bypass system that is set up with the bypass pumps. There are occasions that if the pump are to become clogged, that it may cause an SSO or backup or just simple sewage onto the ground. But however, getting into the homes, that's typically very low risk. We do have issues from time to time, again, as I said, with the bypass pumps.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry, Director Hayes, go ahead.
No, I was just repeating what Director Marshall said. Very low risk of sewer backups in homes. But if you do experience it, The numbers that are there, first of all, if there is a team member out there while you're experiencing it, we will have the project managers, construction managers on site. They will make themselves known and present. That will be Mr. Ari Kennedy and Mr. Alvester Williams. They should be out there while the contractors are working, and they are accessible. They do represent the county, and they will take a look at what's going on and make the necessary adjustments, changes, or what needs to happen to correct whatever's going on at that particular location. And again, what you see there are their contact information and numbers. And so if you could screenshot that or document that, those will be the first point of contact. In case of emergency, after hours, again, 770-270-6243. Next question, please.
Okay, where exactly will the 450 feet of open cuts be?
Ms. Marshall, would you take that question?
It's actually on between 2660, which is Mr. Simon property. I think it's 2 segments where he has the aerial crossing over the creek ditch, and a segment upstream from it that has to be replaced.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Okay. All right, next question. Where will the construction entrances and exits be?
So I know the
On
entrance is
another
gonna
slide. That was on a previous slide if we want to go back.
2589 and 2599 Hawthorne is where the entrance is going to be placed. Slide 26. One more, keep going.
The other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going.
So again, between 2589 and 2599 Hawthorne, that's where the entrance is going to be.
That's the main, go back. It's the map.
There.
Right.
Are
And then I
both
think it's
entrance
clearly
and
seen
exit
on
going to
the
be the same location?
Yes.
Okay. So that again is between 2589 and 2599 Hawthorne. Next question, please.
Okay. It says, I might be the only one confused, but is this work taking place in the street or also in our yards, addressing the tie-in to the sewer in the street?
That's a good question. It's actually both. The first property, I believe, is 2679 Caladium. That shows the starting point of the manhole in the road. I think we come out of it, put in a pit within the right of way in front of their yard, and starting the pipe bursting work going through there. But for the most part, most of the work is behind the homes within the easements.
Very good question. Next question, please.
How will this affect the community pool?
It shouldn't affect the pool at all. I believe it's across the street from 2679.
Okay. We were told our fencing would be taken down for a period of time and that temporary fencing would be placed, which would keep our dogs safe and not escaping. Can you describe how this will happen?
That's a great question.
Mike, are you on? Tesno? If not, I can answer the question, but the contractor is here.
Are you here, Mike?
Oh, okay. All right. Yes, I'm the construction manager for the general contractor. And concerning that, of course, we will ask that if anyone has an animal that has free range of the property, that they maybe would like to make some arrangements to maybe restrict that. We will put temporary fencing, but that type of fencing is usually not very good at keeping animals at bay.
And so can you, Michael, explain more clearly to the audience. This entire project goes over a window of time, and we're not going to have every house or location or yard impact at once, but we will systematically move from one section to another section to complete the job. And is that how would you secure and work in those different sections? Can you explain that to the audience?
Yes. I think in working in conjunction with the county, we would assess each property's need. And for those that would have a situation where we would need to put up a more permanent temporary fence, I think that that's something that could be accommodated. Because of the layout of the construction site, we would only having one entrance and exit. Um, the majority of the site, again, will kind of need to be open for a minute.
Mhm. And because of the majority of this is pipe bursting, what that will yield is from manhole to manhole with very little excavation going on. But we have to have room for large equipment to get in and get out with the material. Is that correct?
That is correct. Once we have established a completed segment, um, we will make efforts to restore that property once it's no longer needed to be accessed.
So we're looking at maybe a day or two, or maybe a week at per property or so, trying to get past that property with the um, pipe bursting.
That is correct.
Okay. I hope that answered your question. Next question, please.
Okay, for neighbors unable to attend tonight, how can they provide you their email addresses? And they can do so by sending an email to projectinfo@dekalbcountyga.gov. I've also listed it in the chat for everyone. And it's on this page, yes, at the very top. And that's the project information line, and that's the email address. So they can just send an email to that address, and they will be added to the email distribution list for this project. All right. The next question, or statement, it was a specific condition of our stipulation that you would erect a temporary fence that would be secure for our dog. Please clarify this.
Ms. Marshall, would you
Yes.
like to comment on that, or would you like to?
Well, I guess you can, but I think it's something we probably wrote in our easement negotiations. I guess we just need to figure out whatever accommodations they need to contain their animals.
I agree with you. And I think that would be a property by property case situation.
Right.
Yes. We're in your community, and we're going to respect your community. So note that we are partnering with you to help make these improvements. We're going to do everything that we can within our limits to make sure that, again, as guests in your community, we respect your community and have boundaries of what we should be doing and should not be doing. So we will definitely communicate on case by case, but we're here to partner with you. We want to make sure that we get in your community, do what's needed, and return your community back to its original state or even better. But again, we're here to help. We're not here to make problems or cause other issues. Next question, please.
All right, next question is, wow, the fencing issue is quite different than what we were told. We were told temporary fencing was going to be adequate for pet control. Can you show on the map the area being dug instead of expanded?
Is that relative to the open cut, which I think it is? go back. Slow, right there. Go back. Because it's actually in between these property here, 2660 and 2672. That's where there's an aerial pipe going through the creek, which means it's not buried. You should be able to see that. That piece of pipe has to be upsized. And it can't be pipe burst because it has no coverage, no soils over it. So the only way we can upsize it is to remove and replace.
Next question, please.
When are the marked trees being removed?
The contractor is planning to put boots on the ground and start building a construction entrance and exit on the 17th. I would imagine either that day or within 4 to 5 days of that, the clearing activity should start.
All right, next we have a statement from Mr. Dodge, Simon Dodge, who says, I am at 2660. I have no issue with pet control, and to my knowledge, neither does 2672.
Correct, but I thought the question was really, it's the previous question that asked about dug up or expanded.
Mhm.
So it wasn't really the dog question, it's where we're gonna do the open cut installation.
Next question, please.
Okay, next question is, it looks like this map shows an area not including our street, Caladium. Where is that work represented on the map?
So we're starting at the
Caladium.
manhole on Caladium, is that
Correct.
correct?
Correct, where it says start point.
So there won't be a great deal of work on Caladium other than that manhole. From there, we're coming out of the roadway and going into the yards, the backyards of the homes.
That is correct, the work is not along Caladium.
Next question, please.
We are located at 2752 Cravey Drive. I'm sorry, this question is specific to us. There's a dot on our lot, and the back of our property is in the rectangle of work. We have been told two different things. I have emailed, but would appreciate clarification. Will work be done on our property?
We will have to get back to them, I'm not sure where that property is.
Okay, so will you please take that address and make sure you get that person's contact information and answer that question, have them an answer to that question by tomorrow, please?
Sure.
And that's SB at 2752 Cravey Drive. And if we have to have a visit to them, if it warrants a visit, please make sure that we give it the attention that it needs to answer that question. Next question, please.
Okay. Okay, the next question is, so the work is not along Caladium? The person who came to our house said it was from Foster Ridge to Cravey along Caladium.
Correct. The map that's on the screen, we will start on Caladium at the manhole there, but we will immediately move off Caladium. We're not going to traverse down Caladium. We're going to travel between Hawthorne and Cravey Drive. We will not be working along Caladium. Next question, please.
Okay, and this homeowner has provided her name for 2752 Cravey Drive.
Thank you. We'll make sure that the team gets out and communicate to you to address your concern or your question. And again, I'm asking the team to communicate that tomorrow, if at all possible. Any other questions?
Let's see. Yes. The county has acquired a temporary easement in our yard. There are trees marked with ribbon. It seems that the area of pipe on our property will be replaced via the bursting method. Will there be any impact on the marked trees? Will they be cut down?
Ms. Marshall or Michael, can either of you answer that question for me?
Yes, the original assessment for this project was open cut. And when we realized the impact that it would have on the community, DWM, along with ourselves, agreed that we may need to look at a less invasive process, and that was pipe bursting. With that being said, I think we will, if Ms. Marshall agrees, will reassess the number of trees that are scheduled to come down. If it is not necessary because of the lesser footprint of equipment and all, we won't take it down.
Okay, so very good. I will ask that that reassessment happen, and we remove the trees that are marked. We remove the markings from them if they're not having to come down. That means remove the red ribbons, and then maybe put together some type of communication that we can give to the community to let them know the change of scope, or the change of trees, whether we had to add a tree or remove a tree. Can we have that done, team?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Next question, please.
Okay, statement just stating, we have received contradictory answers about the trees in the past. That is good news. Thank you. And for 2752 Cravey Drive, if you could please put your email and phone number into the chat, that would be great, or email.
Send it to me on private.
Okay. Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Director Hayes, I do not see any other questions.
There is one more. Once a
How-
fence is removed, how long till it's replaced?
Correct. So that's again, because we're going from lot to lot and we're working our way down the area, that it's different from every location depending on the topography and what has to get in and out of those areas. We are hoping that we remove a fence, work in an area. After we complete that section of that area, we can then start to restore that fence and that property back to its original state. And that can vary. I don't want to give specific or exact timing because construction, there are always unknowns, and there's always things that arrive or come up, including weather, that may prolong us in one area and may not allow us to do exactly or hold the exact schedule that we put out there. But what we will try to do, what we will try to commit to is get into the area, the section by section, and if we have to remove fencing, remove it, put up temporary fencing where warranted. If there is a need for more secure fencing, Ms. Marshall, Director Marshall, and Michael, they will assess and communicate with the homeowners. And again, we are guests in your community, and we want to respect your community and your property. So we will work with you within reason with everything that we can do to help secure your place and to restore, replace that fencing as quickly as we can. Some cases, it may be a couple of days, but in others, depending on what we face, it may be several weeks. And my team will communicate with you when that happens so that you are aware of what needs to happen. And if there need to be concessions and things put in place, then, again, we will do what we can.
All right, we do have another question. We have a detention pond. It will be impacted as indicated by LOD markers. We have attempted review of this issue with watershed management, but no response.
Okay, may I ask the team to identify that pond and communicate to the homeowner that that pond, where that pond resides in their yard? And today's Monday, so one day this week, please, if possible.
What's the address?
2373 Tall Pines Way.
373. I got it.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any final questions?
Director Hayes, I don't, oh, no, wait a minute. They corrected the address. 2925 Tall Pines Way.
And what type of pond is it?
A retention pond, detention pond, so maybe a stormwater pond. It should be very easy to find.
Yes.
And I'm not sure it's in the construction zone. We're in between Hawthorne, Caladium, Sylvan, Ramble. And that,
Tall Pines, Miss Marshall, is a little cul-de-sac that has about 6
Oh.
houses in it.
oh, I see the cul-de-sac. Is that the little cul-de-sac?
It's off of Cravey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see it just above the end point.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so yes, we will definitely reach out to you and clarify your question and make sure that you understand what needs to happen in that area. So look for the team to come out to pay you a visit, and they will look at the pond with you and then make clear what needs to happen. So thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out this evening. This has been, I hope, very educational for you and enlightening. And again, what we're trying to do here is to be transparent and partner with you to let you know exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it, and that we're there for you. This presentation has been recorded and will be uploaded to our site and to YouTube, so that you can go back and reference this recording for future knowledge. We will have people out there all the time, and those people, again, Mr. Ari Kennedy and Mr. Williams, they are county representatives. They will be there to answer questions that you may have while on site. If there are any concerns that may come up from construction workers in wrong areas, or something that's not quite right, please communicate with us, and we should be responsive and address whatever concerns that may arrive. Again, my name is Director David Hayes of Watershed Management. I really appreciate your time, and I hope that this was informal to you, and we look forward for a great partnership and an improved DeKalb. Have a great evening.